It's the final podcast.
I was second off.
Welcome to Buzzpucks. I'm Bert,
I'm Clay.
and this is the last episode of the 2021-2022 season. Don't be worried. We will be back next year. We've both agreed.
Yes.
Because I'm having fun doing
It's
it.
a good time.
Yeah, it's just fun, and I think we've gotten into a good groove. And hopefully we'll just be better next season, but probably not. But
what we're drinking is
what are we drinking before we get into
Southern
anything?
Tears Brewing Company out of Rochester, New York.
Yeah.
Their Blackwater series, Nitro, Thick Mint,
Thick mint.
Imperial Milk Stout.
Oh, I forgot it was a nitro, so a bunch more air came out of it.
We got the frosted glasses for this.
Frosted glasses for this. Somebody didn't put these in his fridge, I guess.
I bought them on the way here.
I thought you had. Oh no, you just had the idea for
I
it.
knew what it was going to be.
Gotcha.
But I'm sometimes lazy.
Well, join the club.
I ran up. Oh, it smells like a thick
I can.
mint.
Yeah, I can smell the mint.
Oh yes.
I can smell the mint. So what we're gonna do for this last episode is we're gonna go. I assume team by team. That's how I went with my notes.
Oh yeah.
Clay and I don't discuss with each other a lot of the time.
Rarely.
That's why we say different things for our teams. But we're gonna go through each team,
Professionalism.
tell you who they signed, who they traded, all that good jazz that comes with free agency. We're just gonna touch upon the big league guys because there's plenty of minor league deals that have been signed.
Oh, so many.
So we're not gonna go through all of those. We'll be here all day.
It'd be a 5-hour episode.
So we're going to skip most of the two-way contracts. I'm going to mention just a couple because I know those guys had played in the NHL last year, so they're probably guys that probably will be in the NHL, but they could bounce between the AHL and NHL. But for the most part, we're going to skip over the two-way contracts. And
I'm completely skipping over two-way contracts.
That's fine. I only have a few that I'm going to mention. Let me taste this beer first. Is it minty?
It's beautiful.
Wow, that's really good.
Oh, it's delicious.
That's a very good beer. Oh boy, that's dangerous. That doesn't even really.
It's 10%. Doesn't taste like it.
No, it's an imperial stout, so it doesn't have that aftertaste that you get with imperial stouts sometimes because they're usually extremely strong.
Yeah.
Boy, that's real good.
Mm-hmm.
That certainly does taste like a thin mint, except it's a thick mint.
It's much thicker.
It is. Before we start, I wanted to mention, I think I'm going to try to throw our episodes up on YouTube as well. I'll make us a thing over the next few months. So look out for that, everybody. I know some people, like to listen. I like to listen to podcasts on YouTube sometimes, too. So I'll throw them up there, and depending on how hard that is for next season, I'll try to do that every week. It doesn't seem like it's going to be that hard, so
cool.
Look for that. But Clay, would you like to start us off?
I'll get us started.
All right.
And because, with going over the teams, alphabetical order of mascots.
Oh, for God's sakes! I just straight did mine alphabetical order, not division wise.
Well, I had
just straight up.
I just had the same book.
That's fine.
All right. Vancouver is up first.
Yeah.
They started out free agency by signing Colin Delia, a goalie.
Did they? Wow.
Yes.
I didn't even realize
1 year.
Some of these signings, I was like, I didn't even hear that happen.
They only signed 4 guys so far in free agency. They got Colin Delia, a goalie, Curtis Lazar, center, who played for Boston.
Yeah.
Delia only played 8 games for Chicago, so that's why there wasn't a lot of for that.
That makes sense, yeah.
Big name is, and signing for them is Ilya Mikheyev from Toronto.
He went to Vancouver, huh?
He went to Vancouver.
Interesting.
4 years, $4.75 million, which is a little bit of an overpay.
Yeah, but I think coming off of,
he's a good defensive.
He played okay.
32 points, 53 games.
Yeah.
He's good defensively. And then last up is Dakota Joshua.
Dakota Joshua, yes.
30 games for St. Louis last year. So everyone else is at $1 million or below. Curtis Lazar was 3 years at $1 million.
Weren't Weren't they signing some
Andre
guy? Oh, yes.
Menskov.
Oh, that is a two-way. Oh, because it's an entry-level contract.
Entry-level contract. That was announced.
Kuzmenko. Kuzmenko. That's his name.
A couple weeks ago, but wasn't made official.
Right. It couldn't be official until the beginning of free agency because he was a foreign free agent.
Kuzmenko said that Mikheyev was the reason he chose Vancouver, which means Mikheyev knew that he was going to Vancouver for months.
Whoopsie. Oopsie poopsie. That means there might have been some tampering. Whoops. I am interested to see if Vancouver gets in trouble for that now. That is really interesting, actually.
Yeah, Kuzmenko was like, yeah, my friend Mikheyev was like, yeah, you should go to Vancouver.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about there, brother?
Mm-hmm.
That's really funny, actually. All right.
I'll do one more before I
get to you. Sure, yeah. These are kind of short, so maybe we'll do two and trade off.
So we're gonna do the Ducks now.
Dicks.
Didn't do much.
I don't know.
They got three guys.
From what I'm looking at, they got some good guys.
They did get some good guys, but it's not gonna team wise, not gonna move the needle all that much.
No, I guess not a ton.
Ryan Strome was the big name.
Yeah.
28-year-old center. He played for the Rangers. 5 years, $5 million.
Yeah, they just poached off the Rangers here a little bit.
Because they also got back Frank Petrano from the Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
In the 71 games between the Rangers and the Panthers, he had 32 points, 3 years, $3.65 million.
Seems about right.
And then last up is Glenn Gaudin. He only played 2 games for Calgary, so he's under.
Yeah, it's still a one-way contract though.
Yep. So that just means
that'll be interesting.
By waivers if they send him down, right?
Right. Yeah. That is interesting. They poached off a couple of guys from the Rangers, in Strome and Vetrano. Both of those guys played pretty well for the Rangers.
They're still not at the salary cap floor, so they have work to do.
Yeah, they could make some moves still. There's still the whole question of John Gibson staying there, or does he get traded?
Mm-hmm.
The places for goalies to go currently has dried up for the most part.
The big goal.
We'll get into more of that as we go along further, but I don't know. If Gibson was to be traded, I'm not 100% certain who that would be to at this point, because most of the teams that were in dire need of goaltending got those goalies. For better or worse, depending on who you are, Toronto. They got goalies.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
That one, I can't wait to talk about that one. So, but yeah, the Ducks added a couple of good, solid veteran guys in Vetrano and Strome.
Mm-hmm.
That should help the younger guys at least a little bit. Strome and Vetrano can score some.
I mean, Strome is one of those guys that if he could just finish better, he'd be really good.
Yeah. And I'm happy to see Vetrano go to the West Coast so he can stop scoring on the Penguins.
Well,
because I swear to God, he always scores on the Penguins.
Doesn't matter who he's playing for.
I guess that's true, but it's less times that we have to play. No. All right. Well, I'm going to start with the Coyotes.
Ooh.
I did write down who they re-signed as well.
Oh, I have. Yeah.
Okay. So just those guys didn't re-sign anybody. They didn't need to. Yeah.
Yeah. No one's been re-signed.
So I mean, but just going off of that, the Coyotes only re-signed Christian Fischer, 1 year, $1.25 million. So that makes sense. However, they did sign a handful of guys. Nick Bjugstad signed for 1 year, $900K.
Mm-hmm.
Troy Stetcher signed for 1 year, $1.25 million. John Gillies signed for 1 year, $750K, and they also re-signed Bokoji Imama, a sweet name, 1 year, $750K.
Yeah.
They were also involved in a trade with the Rangers. The Rangers sent Patrick Nemeth a 2024 third and a 2025 second. That third could be, if Arizona decided, could be a 2026 second for Ty Emberson. So that was a cap dump.
Yep.
So essentially the Rangers traded what could be 2 second-round picks to get rid of Patrick Nemeth, who wasn't really getting paid that much.
No.
I think his contract is like $2 million or something like that. But for teams that are right up against the cap, like the Rangers and any team that is competing for the Stanley Cup championship,
right,
they're right up against the cap. If you can dump a few $1 million off your cap, you're gonna, So that's really it for Arizona. Arizona's going to be really bad again next year. So I think they know that. I think they know that. But yeah, they added a couple of second-round picks in future drafts. Patrick Nemeth can play.
Yeah.
And they signed a bunch of guys that were like cast-offs from other teams that nobody really wanted anymore. So
did you see Harrison Terry?
He signed in Europe. Europe. It's so funny. He got so jaded by signing with Toronto and then getting
plucked by waivers
by Arizona. And then having to play in Arizona. And he was like, ooh, I'm going to go back to Europe. Carolina didn't do a whole lot signing-wise. They re-signed Stefan Noesen.
Okay.
2 years, $762K per year.
Mm-hmm.
And they signed Andre Kase in free agency 1 year, $1.5 million. Now,
that's not bad.
That's not bad.
That's
Kase's good.
That's really good.
Kase's solid depth.
Himself.
Yeah, Kase's solid depth if he stays healthy. Now, the big moves by Carolina are big, and they're pretty significant trades.
They are such a well-managed team.
Yeah, they really fleeced
a couple of teams.
Yeah, so the first trade that happened, these both happened, I believe, on the first day of free agency. I'm pretty sure. I think that's what happened.
The first one definitely did.
I'm pretty sure both of them did. The first trade was with the San Jose Sharks, and going to Carolina is Brent Burns with 34% of his contract retained, and Lane Peterson, who is a forward, if you don't know who that is, for Steven Lorenz, Eetu Makiniemi, who is a goalie, and the lowest of the 2023 thirds that Carolina owns. So I think they own 2 or 3, so it's whoever finishes the lowest of all of those picks that they own. So they added Brent Burns. They got rid of Anthony DeAngelo and added Brent Burns,
who on a worse team put up
more points. So he's going to be on a significantly better team. He's going to have a much better defense partner who's either going to be Slavin or Brett Pesce.
Yep.
And he's probably just going to fire bombs from the blue line.
I can see him getting 50 points.
And I really hate this. Yep. Because Carolina's in my team's division.
He's 37 years old.
He is old, but he can still fire the puck.
But he led the league in time on ice last year.
Yes, he did.
At 26 minutes a night.
Yes, he did. He's never been known to be the best at actual defense, but he's probably one of the better offensive defensemen that has been in the league the past, 15 years? So, however long he's been in the league, he's been one of the better offensive defensemen.
So, this is great for Carolina.
Yeah, that's a hell of a deal for So sorry. Hell of a deal for Carolina. Just giving up Lorentz, who's a forward, and Eetu Makiniemi, who's a goalie, and then a draft pick.
AHLer.
Yeah, so they didn't give up a ton to get Brent Burns. And you know who else they didn't give up literally anything for? The next trade was with the Vegas Golden Knights.
Talking about cap-strapped teams.
Talking about poaching cap-strapped teams. Carolina got Max Pacioretty and Dylan Coughlin, who is a young defenseman, for future considerations.
Hardly knew him. Carolina fans.
Man,
he's been getting around this
season. League trade legend, future considerations. So, if you guys need a reminder, future considerations means nothing.
Yeah.
They traded for nothing. So they added Brent Burns and Max Pacioretty to their starting lineup, along with Lane Peterson and Dylan Coughlin, who might be in the lineup, might spend time in the AHL, for Steven Lorenz, a draft pick, and Eetu Makiniemi.
Yeah, future considerations.
And that means nothing.
Yeah, but
literally nothing.
You gotta say it.
I guess. So, they got a good scoring punch with both Burns and Pacioretty.
Yeah.
They replaced DeAngelo with somebody better than D'Angelo.
And Max Domi with.
Max. They replaced Max Domi, who left in free agency, with Max Pacioretty
and Trocheck.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
They're a little bit. They're
different.
Players.
Yeah.
But yeah, Carolina's a well
but
run.
Their top two centers are Aho and Jordan Staal still, and Jordan Stahl's up there in age.
Right.
He's like 33, 34, something like that. But you put Pacioretty with one of the two of them, along with Svechnikov, and you still have Teuvo Teravainen too, I believe, and that's a pretty dang good top six.
Yeah, it's Carolina.
Carolina got better,
which is very
losing Trocheck hurts their depth certainly,
and they haven't re-signed Niederreiter yet. If they
have not, and I think Martin Necas is still out there too. He's an RFA, so he's not going anywhere. But they haven't signed him yet either.
So Carolina seems to assign a value to their guys, and they're not willing to overpay.
Go over that, yeah.
Like if they want to walk, they let them walk.
Yeah.
But then they use what cap they have to steal and poach from cap-strapped teams that are desperate. And it's a great.
They're succeeding at it. Yeah, they are succeeding at it. So you can't really fault them for it.
No, that's a great idea.
So yeah.
It's a great idea if you're one of the only teams doing it.
Yeah. So good job, Carolina. Hate you. Who you got next, Clay?
All right, I got. Let's stay in the Pacific.
All right.
Calgary. Signed a couple guys in free agency.
Yeah, they did.
Big news is they let one of them go. You'll talk about that.
Yes, I will.
The first one is Nikita Zaitsev. Yes.
Yeah.
No, Zadorov.
Nikita Zadorov.
Zaitsev
is, I think, on their team. I don't know.
Who knows anymore?
He is a player.
Yes,
I don't remember what team he's on
currently.
Yeah. He
Nikita
might be on
Zadorov.
Ottawa. Now a member of the Calgary Flames.
Still a member of the Calgary.
Or they re-signed him.
But it's not an extension. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't an RFA either.
Yeah, so they did re-sign him, but technically free agency began, so he was kind of a free agent signing, but not really.
Yeah. So 2 years, $3.75 million, which might be a little much.
Maybe a little too much, but it's okay. Yeah. It's not a ton.
They got Dennis Gilbert.
I wonder if it's Denny Gilbert.
It's not, because he's from Buffalo or something.
Oh, then it's Dennis Gilbert. Yeah. If he was from French Canada, it was Denny Gilbert.
I looked that up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair.
He gets 2 years on about $750,000.
Yeah.
He played the entire last year in the AHL.
Well, they might give him. I mean, he's only 25, so they might give him a chance. In the bigs.
Trevor Lewis got 1 year. He played. He's a re-signing as well.
Yeah.
Nicolas Miloche. Played for San Jose.
Did he?
They got him for under $1 million. Yeah. Kevin Rooney, 2 years, $1.3 million from the Rangers.
Yeah.
12 points in 61 games for the Rangers.
That's just depth. And 1.3, that's not too bad for like a fourth line guy that'll probably be in the lineup most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, think of where you didn't spend that money.
Yeah, that's fine.
You're fine.
That's fine. Yeah. You want to do another team?
Yeah, I'll do another team. Sorry, I forgot.
It's okay. We're fast and loose today because it's our last episode, and then we're on summer break.
No rules. All right, who am I looking at? The Kings. Kings did a little bit.
A real little bit.
Yeah.
Well, they got Fiala already in that trade. That was probably their biggest move.
Yeah.
And then re-signed him. What?
Yes. Okay.
You were blank staring at me like you didn't know what I was talking about.
Carl Grundstrom. Was the first guy they signed. 2 years, $1.3 million. He's a re-signing.
Okay, that makes sense.
Elias Anderson was a re-signing as well. He played 20 games. He was basically injured most of last season.
Yeah, he's the guy. He started with the Rangers, and then he was like, "Fuck you" to the Rangers, and then they traded him or something.
I think something like that.
Yeah.
They re-signed Alex Edler as well.
They did.
41 games. He spent most of, he spent half of the season hurt.
Yeah.
I
was wondering if Edler was going to just retire.
Both Anderson and Edler are $750,000. They signed Phoenix Copley, who will probably spend his time in the AHL.
Maybe.
If he clears waivers, because with Quick and
they have Peterson, yeah.
So,
I forgot they have
third-string goalie.
I always forget they have Peterson.
Right.
And he's getting paid $5 million.
For 2 more years?
Yeah.
1 more year?
I mean, he's not bad. I just always forget that he's there.
He's not bad, but he didn't make that step.
Yeah. They had Jack Gamble at one point.
He didn't beat Quick.
Right.
And they were getting paid the same.
Right.
And Quick earned that long $5 million.
Oh, of course
contract.
he did. Yeah, he won 2 Stanley Cups with them.
Yes. And then they ended up re-signing during free agency Brendan Lemieux. So they let him walk as a RFA and then brought him back.
Bricks in the head, Brendan Lemieux.
For a lot cheaper than
$1.35
what he would have been as an RFA.
Maybe. Oh yeah.
He was at RFA. He was out arbitration eligible. They brought him back for less by letting him walk.
That was They brought him back for less after kind of a tumultuous season.
Why? What happened?
Well, he bit people.
Like father, like son.
The
only father-son duo in the NHL who got punished for biting a player.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Well, I mean, Marchand, do you have a son? Get him in the league, baby.
Lick somebody.
Well, he bit Chris Letang.
I forgot
he bit Chris Letang.
I forgot he bit Chris Letang.
Well, that could be a twofer.
Yeah.
His son can lick somebody and bite somebody, and there you go. And then look at that.
Yeah.
What you got, Lemieux? All right, let's move on to Chicago, who did a bunch of things that I don't really think make them better, but they did them.
They did them already.
They signed Max Domi and Andre Athanasiou, both for 1 year, $3 million each. I mean, that's fine for the two of them. They can contribute, but it's kind of whatever. They also signed Alex Stalock for 1 year, $750K, and they signed Colin Blackwell for 2 years, $1.2 million.
Yeah.
So all of those signings, not bad.
No, they're not bad.
They're all fine. Chicago's just going to be really bad again next year.
Mm-hmm.
Because, we already talked about how they traded Alex DeBrincat.
Yep.
So that's 40-plus goals of scoring that you traded away. They also traded Kirby Dach, who I think they gave up on a little too fast.
Yeah, I would agree.
They seem like they're trying to convince Patrick Kane to leave, which they could get a significant amount for Patrick Kane, dependent on where he agrees to go.
Mm-hmm.
They're just gonna be real bad for many seasons coming up.
Good.
How does that make you feel, Seth Jones? Aren't you so happy you signed an 8-year contract with them? Right? Flip the page. Let's talk about Colorado, who's not bad. Stanley Cup champion. I thought I was going to burp. Colorado Avalanche. They re-signed Valerie Nichushkin, 8 years, $6.125 million per year.
That's not bad.
I actually think that's cheaper than he would have gotten if he went to free agency.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He would have gotten 7 to 8.
What's interesting this season is that teams re-signed a bunch of guys, not just Colorado, but like a lot of teams re-signed guys for like cheaper than they probably would have gotten on free agency, which I think is really interesting.
Well, depends on the team, because some teams, they are obvious contenders. Again, Colorado just won it.
Yeah.
So
I'm not surprised.
A lot of those guys are willing to be like, I'll take a little less money to maybe get another ring.
There's still rumors floating out there that Kadri might return to Colorado. Kadri, by the way, has not signed yet, as of this recording. Mm-hmm. Watch him sign while we're recording. I can't. Oh man, one of these days I want to do breaking news.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I would re-sign with the team that I just won a championship with too.
Right.
Speaking of which, they also re-signed Artturi Lehkonen
mm-hmm.
for 5 years, $4.5 million. That's great.
That's great.
He had a very good good playoffs, did Laakkonen, so that's awesome. That beefs up your third line or second line. He could probably jump to second line if you needed him to.
Yeah.
They also re-signed Josh Mason for 4 years, $4.5 million. That
Manson.
might... Oh, you're right, Manson. I always say Mason, and I always miss that N in there.
That's fair.
That might be a little bit of an overpay for Manson because he's kind of like a defensive, like
crusher guy.
Muscle kind of guy.
Same with Zadorov.
Yeah, maybe a little high on that, but
you're talking about another guy later who definitely was another defenseman who got overpaid.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to talk about that one. I don't know how they convinced the team to sign that contract,
Continue.
but that may be, it's a little high for Josh Manson, but he played pretty well for Colorado. He didn't have a great playoffs, but that puts some muscle on your blue line.
Right, but thankfully he was there when Girardi got hurt.
Exactly. So it's just Girard. Girardi is a different defenseman who retired several years ago at this point.
I could also be thinking of the baseball coach.
Joe Girardi. But, here's the thing. Now they'll have Sam Girard and Josh Manson, and that just beefs up your defense even more. And they already have Cal McCarr.
Right.
And who else do you really need, honestly? They also re-signed Darren Helm for 1 year, $1.25 million, bringing the old man back.
Good for Darren.
I mean, he scored that big goal to end that series against, who was it? St. Louis. St. Louis, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't Minnesota. St. Louis beat Minnesota.
Yeah. So I think it was against St. Louis because it wasn't against Edmonton. But either way, he scored a huge series-clinching goal.
It's worth $1.25
million. Yeah, it's worth $1.25 million to have a old man veteran fourth liner. It's fine.
Yeah,
that's totally fine. Who you got next?
Did you talk about?
Oh.
Yeah.
I missed the trade for... No. I did. We did mention the trade for Georgiev. I missed writing it down.
Gotcha.
Writing his signing down.
Gotcha.
So I apologize. You're correct, Clay. So they did sign Alex Georgiev, who they traded for last week at some point, for 3 years, $3.4 million. Not bad.
Not bad.
Him and Pavel Francouz will probably be 1A, 1B.
Yeah. 100%.
For them going into the season. So that's not too bad.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
So thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, I did miss that.
Recorded that day.
We did. We did talk about that trade.
Okay, cool.
But they hadn't re-signed him yet. Yeah, they hadn't re-signed him yet. I think that happened later in the night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Thank you. Who you got next?
Who do I got next? Las Vegas.
Oh, buddy. Vegas.
So we already talked about how Vegas freed up $7 million of cap space.
They did indeed.
Almost $8 million with the
Coughlin, I think. I think it's Coughlin.
That's unfortunate.
I think it is. Maybe it's Coughlin. I don't know. But usually when that G and H are in the name like that, I think it's like an F sound. Maybe.
Yeah.
For saying your name, Dylan, just let us know. I know you're listening.
So that was almost $8 million of cap space they freed up.
Yeah.
Which allowed them to actually officially sign Riley Smith.
Yes.
Re-sign Riley Smith for 3 years, $5 million.
I think everybody knew that was going to happen. It was reported weeks ago that was going to happen, but they had to free up cap space for that first.
During the off season, you can't have more than 10% of the cap.
Yeah, you can go 10% over the cap in the off season.
LTIR does not count.
Does not. No.
It doesn't disappear. So you have to.
Yeah, that doesn't happen until day one of the season.
They also re-signed Brett Howden, center.
Yes, they did.
Depth for 1 year, 1.5.
Yeah, he's only 24.
Yeah, he scored. Yeah, they let him walk in free agent or restricted, and then brought him back.
Yeah, a lot of teams did that this year.
And then Sakari Mannanen, who played in Europe last year.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Got no NHL.
Yeah, Vegas doesn't really have the cap room to do much.
No, they do not.
I mean, they had to trade Pacioretty for literally nothing.
Yep.
Pacioretty and Dylan Coughlin for literally nothing. So, Yeah, I mean, Vegas is still going to be good next year. I mean, the only reason they didn't make the playoffs was because of injuries, and Peter DeBoer. So
I would say mainly injuries.
And Peter DeBoer. I don't trust that man.
To be, Peter DeBoer's in the mix,
He's,
but I think
it's
injuries,
a close second.
Yeah.
To Peter DeBoer's a close second.
Well, and look at like Michael Stone's going to be out for a little bit.
Mark Stone,
Michael's his brother.
Yeah.
Mark Stone's going to be out for a little bit with that back problem. So like they were probably getting him to come back early when he wasn't ready.
Oh, absolutely. Didn't
and by kind of
away from my mic. Eichel was also had some sort of like, didn't he have a thumb injury?
Yeah. Broken thumb, like his second game back.
Yeah. So if they can stay healthy next year, they will certainly be a playoff team. They're in the Pacific Division.
Maybe.
Who's going to knock them out of a playoff spot?
Well, we've talked about how Vancouver, if they're keeping their
if they can keep
that what
if they can keep it,
half,
it's still not definite that they're not trading JT Miller.
Yeah, but you can.
They haven't traded him yet.
You can get a replacement for JT Miller.
You're probably in that trade.
Trade, so Besser got signed for cheaper than his
That's true.
Qualifying
that's
offer,
true. And I mean, they have JT Miller under contract.
Yes.
They don't have to trade him.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Kuzmenko.
Yeah, that's guys coming in. Yeah.
Huge.
He's supposed to be pretty good. Yeah, he's supposed to be pretty good.
So Vancouver, if they played like they did in the second half of the season under Boudreau, could make a push.
Yeah, but here's the thing: Calgary is going to be much worse.
Yeah, I think Calgary falls a little bit.
Edmonton should still be fine.
Edmonton should still be fine, and then I think the Kings improved.
The Kings, with Fiala and there are other minor signings, but they got Fiala. That's going to add goals to the team.
Yeah, the Kings
theoretically.
They're going to get Doughty back.
True. That's right. I forgot about
half the season.
You know what? If he was in that playoff series against Edmonton, I think they would have won. I think it would have been just enough to beat them if Doughty was there.
Now, I'm not saying that.
I think
Vegas is out.
I still think Vegas is better than like Nashville. If we're talking about if we want to flip over to the Central.
But we also just named 4 teams.
Yeah.
So Calgary, yes, will be worse, but they also have Daryl Sutter, who is still a very good coach.
That's true. I mean, Calgary's going to be worse, but how much worse?
Right.
So
there's 5 teams in the Pacific.
They don't have Tkachuk signed to a contract yet.
They don't, not yet.
So
Mangiapane's going to arbitration. But
they might trade Tkachuk.
But in Vegas, give me a second. Which one's which? I think this one's Waugh. Waugh's going to arbitration.
Nicholas Waugh. Yeah.
Well, because the Kings have Roy.
Right. Yeah. No, I think this one is Roy.
I think this one's Waugh.
I don't know. It's ROY.
For both.
You know what, Patrick Waugh? Just say your name right, okay? It would have cleared this all up. Stop being French Canadian.
So I think this one's Waugh, and he's up for he's going to arbitration as well.
But that's not how big of a dent is that really? Even if they lose him,
it's the Knights, so if they have to take it, it's still a dent.
And they might just trade him at that point. I just think if they stay healthy, I think Vegas is a playoff team easily, because the Pacific outside of Edmonton, and maybe the Canucks, the Pacific is terrible.
I mean, the bottom 4, bottom 5.
The Ducks haven't gotten good enough.
Bottom 3.
I don't think the Ducks have gotten good enough to challenge for a playoffs. But now they could surprise me next year. San Jose is going to be very bad again next year.
Agreed.
Who the hell else is in that division?
The Kraken.
Oh, the Kraken. We haven't got to them yet, but
I'm about to. But
I don't think they're going to be a playoff team.
I don't think they're going to be a playoff team.
They might be better. They'll be better.
They're going to be better because let's talk about some of the scoring that they.
Yeah, let's get off the Knights. I still think they're a playoff team next year, but let's talk about the Kraken.
They extended Carson Coleman.
Yes, they did.
On the wing for under $1 million, 1 year. Depth guy.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Podorowski?
Sure, that's close enough. There's an L in there, but who knows if you actually say it or not.
Oh, Podorowski.
Yeah, Podorowski. Yeah, I think that sounds good.
2 years under, it's about $750,000.
Yeah.
He was in the Carolina system, so
right.
Only 2 games.
Oh, a sick name coming up.
Magnus Hellberg.
Hell yeah, I love that name.
Played for Detroit.
I love the first name Magnus.
He's
a goalie.
Yeah, he'll probably be their 3rd string or
probably.
AHL because they got Martin Jones as well.
Oh yeah, Hellberg's probably just like
3rd string.
4th. He might be 4th string. I mean, they still have Grubauer and Drieger.
Drieger tore his ACL in the Worlds.
Did he?
Yeah.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
He's done.
Yeah.
I mean,
he might be back for he might be back at the end of the year.
Yeah,
maybe.
Drieger tore his ACL in Worlds.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's why they went out and got Martin Jones.
Yeah. Hellberg's their 3rd until Drieger comes back at least.
Because Martin Jones 1 year, $2 million, full no move clause. Or sorry, modified no trade clause.
Oh,
modified.
You can tell me he had a no move clause. I was gonna ask what Ron Francis is smoking in Seattle.
Right. And then
Martin Jones does not deserve a no move clause.
But for scoring wise, they got Andre Burakovsky.
They did. I forgot they signed Burakovsky.
5 years, 5.5.
That's not that bad for Burakovsky.
No,
he played very well for Colorado.
8 games, 61 points.
Yeah.
I was misremembering injuries because he was injured during the playoffs. I thought he got injured during the season.
No, he got injured in the playoffs.
It was last.
Still got that ring though.
It was last season. That he did get injured.
Yeah, he played really well for Colorado. He deserves that contract.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Thing about Burakovsky is he's streaky. He's a great
a lot of scorers are super streaky. Yeah. The ones who aren't super streaky are in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Going to be in the Hall of Fame.
And they got Justin Schultz.
That's whatever.
Defense.
Yeah.
2 years, $3 million.
That's not that bad for Schultz. I mean, on a team like Seattle that has tons of cap space, that's fine.
He started out very well for Washington, but the back half of the season.
He's been kind of.
This past season, he dropped.
He's been kind of booty since he left Pittsburgh. He was even booty the last season he was in Pittsburgh. He wasn't really that good. Yeah, shake it off, Ruth.
Yeah, it seems like his last season on the team, he drops off in the second half of the year. Yeah. Which is unfortunate.
Maybe he'll be able to turn it around.
It's the reverse contract year.
Yeah, that's really funny, actually. Yeah. Seattle is a team that people are still linking to Klingberg, who has not signed yet. Mm-hmm. So that would be interesting if they add Klingberg.
They're going to get Brandon Tanev back, which isn't.
They are. He's not going to score a ton, but he's a good defensive forward.
It's more like
he can score 10 goals.
That's for the fans. He became a fan favorite immediately.
I wish he was still on the Penguins. I love Brandon Tanev.
Yeah. So he tore his ACL last season. I think halfway through the season, maybe if not before.
He's a fan favorite just for his picture, just for his mugshot, where his own brother said he looked like he saw a ghost. So funny. All right. Yes, I mean Seattle.
Seattle has improved.
Oh yeah, certainly. With adding Burakovsky, definitely improves them. These other additions are kind of whatever. But,
right, and if
But they also
Grubauer doesn't poop.
Yeah, if Grubauer can get himself back in form, maybe they're at least closer to a playoff spot. They also got that Berniers guy.
Yep.
They have Shane Wright too.
Yes, they got Shane Wright.
So I would assume Shane Wright is going to start the season with the Kraken. I don't see why he wouldn't. I know he dropped to 4th in the draft because he didn't have a super good year. I think that's kind of the thoughts of why he dropped.
Maybe.
But I think he dropped to 4th because we talked about it last week. Montreal took Slavkovsky. The Devils thought they were going to get Slavkovsky and then just took the defenseman instead, Nemec.
That they needed.
And then Arizona was like, we'll just still take Logan Cooley. And then so Wright just fell to the Kraken. Yep. So, Berniers, who I believe is the center, or Bernier, however you say his name.
Berniers.
Is it Berniers?
Yes.
So, you have Berniers, you have Shane Wright, and I've already seen a picture of the two of them hanging out in Seattle.
At a Mariners game.
Yeah, at a Mariners game. So, that's your 1-2 center combo of the future if they pan out correctly.
Right.
But who knows if they actually do. But so, Shane Wright might be there.
Yeah.
That's that's a draw. If I was in Seattle, I would go to a Kraken game. Their arena looks really cool.
I think my brother has season tickets.
That's awesome. Tell him to give me some. Let's go to Seattle. Let's record an episode in Seattle. We'll go to Pike's Market and just sit there and record an episode.
That'll be so loud.
I know. But maybe they'll throw fish at us. All right, let's move to Columbus, who made some, let's say, stunning signings.
They made one of the best free agency signings.
And one of the worst ones.
And the worst.
Yeah.
They made the worst one first.
Yeah, let's talk about the worst one first of all. I love Eric Goodbranson. I really do. He seems like a super nice guy. He's a big, tough dude who plays, defenseman.
With Zadorov.
He's similar to Zadorov and Manson. But he is not worth 4 years, $4 million that the Columbus Blue Jackets signed him to.
No.
I don't know what black magic his agent has.
I don't know.
Because this is the second contract he's gotten over $4 million, I think.
Right.
I'm pretty sure. So, I don't know. His agent must be like a used car salesman. It's just like, check out this baby. You could put so many hits in this.
And he slaps him on the
head.
head.
And you can fight Tom Wilson and whatever.
Right.
And it's just like, okay, Columbus. But then Columbus shocked everybody and signed Johnny Gaudreau.
Here's the thing.
7 years, $9.75 million.
This signing shocked them.
Yeah.
Because Gaudreau's team, his agent...
Well, apparently he only wanted to go to Philly. Or he really wanted to go to Philly, but they did not have the cap space for it.
They don't have the cap space, and they're a garbage team.
Columbus isn't, tremendously better.
Look at what Philadelphia is doing.
Oh, no, I agree with you. Philly's going to be really bad, but... I don't know. Maybe they also did this to be like, hey, Line A. Well, we got Johnny Gaudreau,
Well, Gaudreau reached out to Columbus.
Yeah, he seeked out Columbus.
GM, when he got the call, thought it was a joke.
It was just like, who is this really?
Right.
This is Oliver Bjorkstrand calling me. Who is this?
And then Gaudreau managed to piss off 4 different teams
in that division, or three in the division he signed in.
He pissed off the Flames because they were offering him $10 million.
Oh yeah.
Up to 11.
That's what it sounds like. Yeah.
The rumor was up to 11.
That's a lot.
Oh, $11 million. Then Philadelphia, who couldn't afford him.
I think Philly's more mad at their general manager than they are at Johnny Gaudreau. Because he grew up in the Philly area. Yes. He rumor is that he really wanted to sign with the Flyers, but they could not clear the cap space for it.
One of the reasons he said he didn't want to go back to Calgary is he wanted to be closer to family.
Yeah. He is significantly closer to family.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
The Flyers couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
Devils apparently offered 10.5.
I was convinced he was going to sign with the Devils. I was convinced.
Devils is super close to family. They can afford him. They are on the up already.
Yeah. He could play with Jack Hughes or Nico Hischier.
He would look good in a Devils uniform.
Yeah.
I
was convinced he was going to sign for the Devils, and I was ready to say the Devils are going to make the playoffs next year if he signed with them.
So
I'm not ruling it out, but
Devils fans are mad.
Yeah.
Islanders were also on the table.
Islanders are similar to Philly, where I think they're mad at Lou Lamoriello for not getting it done. But somebody pointed out online, they were like, if you grew up a Phillies fan or a Flyers fan,
you're not going.
Do you really want to sign with the Devils or the Islanders?
Right.
So that was something I hadn't actually considered. Maybe he didn't actually want to play for those teams.
There's that. Also, a lot of Calgary fans are just like, oh, so this whole family thing is a lie. Because the hour difference, based on time zone difference and stuff like that, it's only an hour less of a flight from...
is it really? Do I not understand where Calgary is geographically?
Calgary is Rocky Mountain time. If they're not Rocky Mountain time...
How is the flight only an hour longer?
Time zone stuff that people don't
okay. I was like... That doesn't make sense to me. That's way farther west.
Time zone stuff that people are stupid about.
Got it.
So there's that. Also, he's now in the United States.
Yeah.
Family.
Yes.
You don't have to deal with going through customs.
Yes.
The hour of all of that stuff. The
other thing is that the United States income tax is actually less than Canada's. Yes. And that actually factors into another move that happened with another Metro team coming up, but So the tax bracket, tax bracket state to state is different.
It's different, yes.
But all of them are less than Canada.
Yeah, but you get more back from Canadian government.
I get that, but like you take home more than you would in Canada. I understand that, especially right now, the Canadian government seems great right now. Yeah, I don't know. It is significantly closer to his family. He is from South New Jersey, which is essentially Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's my territory.
And so, like Columbus, just knowing what I know, because I'm from Pittsburgh, Columbus is 3 hours from Pittsburgh, 2.5 maybe,
it's like
and then Pittsburgh is like
12-hour drive.
No.
Sorry.
It's like a 6-hour drive, 6 to 7 hour drive from Columbus to Philly. Now, Johnny Gaudreau's not going to drive. I'm sure he'll fly, but that's like
it's a 3-hour flight or something like that.
I don't even think it's that much. I think it might be 2, honestly.
No, you're right.
So, I get it, but I'm gonna. My headcanon is he wanted to sign with the Flyers. They couldn't clear the cap space, and he didn't want to play for New Jersey and the Islanders.
Yeah.
That's what it seems fairly clear to me.
Because New Jersey was apparently offering 10.5 as well. So
that's not confirmed, though.
He is. What is confirmed is he left money on the table to
Oh,
sign
absolutely, he did. At the very least in Calgary, he left money on the table. Yeah. So yeah, Johnny Gaudreau's on Columbus. That's going to be really weird to look at next year.
It's going to be freaking annoying to look at.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think it makes Columbus a playoff team. I know they're still not good enough.
I don't either. But
well,
you have to deal with him scoring on you constantly.
I think so. He scored 115 points last year. Really good season.
That's a career year. He's not going to.
Oh, absolutely.
He's not.
I think you can go ahead and minus at least 30 points off of that.
Yeah.
Columbus is not a bad team. They were right around 500 last year. I think that'll, especially adding Gaudreau, and I guess Erica Branson, that'll probably bump them over 500 for next year, if I had to guess. Hopefully, as long as they keep Laine.
Yeah.
Laine is an RFA, but he's not going to arbitration, so that means that there's progress being made with his contract. So you have Laine and Gaudreau, so Gaudreau can score, but he can set up guys too. So you have, so that's a pretty good first line. I don't know who centers that, but Boone Jenner maybe. That's that's the thing. Their centers aren't like dynamic at all.
I both hate and love that name.
Boone Jenner,
yeah.
Captain Boone.
Boone Jenner.
Well, just to finish off, Columbus, they also signed Nick Blackenberg for 2 years, $825K.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is. He was some guy who, I guess, bounced around somewhere.
He's bounced around. Sure.
Yeah. So, I have one more team to do. Let's talk about Dallas.
Have they done anything?
Very minor things so far. Well, not minor, I guess. They signed Colin Miller for 2 years, $1.85 million. That's not bad. He's a good, third-pairing defenseman. And they sniped Mason Marchment from Carolina for 4 years, $4.5 million. Well, he was supposedly almost done with a contract with Carolina. That's what I'm talking about.
I didn't know that.
And apparently, I don't know what happened with that, but something broke down in that contract discussion.
Interesting.
And he signed with Dallas instead. Like in the 11th hour, he changed his mind, signed with Dallas.
Probably one of those things with, like I said, with Carolina, they're not going to overpay. Like
it could be that
value.
Yeah, it could be
term. It could have been.
Well, it could have been Carolina offered him 4 years for $4 million.
Right.
And then Dallas was like, "We'll give you 4.5 for that same amount of term," and they were like, and he was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
And he just signed with Dallas instead. But you know what? Good for him, because a couple weeks ago he lost his dad.
I didn't know that.
Which is extremely sad and hard to deal with. To take it from somebody who's gone through that. So he gets $4.5 million a year. Congratulations to Mason Marchment.
Good for him.
Yeah. Who you got next?
I got Boston. Nope. I lied. I got Edmonton.
All right. No, I'm lying to you.
I'm lying.
We're actually talking about Edmonton next.
Edmonton, we'll just say it. They got Evander Kane back.
Yes, they did. Keep talking. I'm just going to run away from my mic for 1 second.
Yes. So they got Evander Kane back for 4 years, $5.125 million with a no-move clause on top of that. So he only played 43 games for this year, all on the Oilers. Got 39 points, and this is just regular season. They probably told him because his last contract was for 7, and he is, since that contract got terminated by San Jose, and he is fighting it, they're probably telling him if it wins, you're going to get like $10 million.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah. So what was the contract again? 5 point what?
125.
That's pretty good for Evander Kane. He was on a 40-goal pace if he played an entire season with them.
He was on a 50-goal pace if he played an entire season.
Yeah, he's going to ride shotgun with McDavid. He's going to score tons of goals.
Yes. 4 years. Now, if he can keep his head out of his own butt.
That's a big if.
If he won't, he'll get all this money.
True.
He's only 30.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot
he was
left
born
in
in
the
90.
tank.
He was born in 91.
Yeah.
Like us. So he's actually our age.
Yes.
Yeah.
Frustrating.
I know. Right.
Well, I mean, he started at 18.
Right.
So that's why he's been in the league forever.
He started with the Thrashers.
He started with Atlanta.
A team that does not exist
He
anymore.
knocked out Matt Cook on the Thrashers.
He did. Yeah, that's true. That did happen.
All right, so we got Evander Kane. That's a big.
Yeah, that's a
good
big
signing for
bring
him.
back. Yeah.
For the Oilers.
Cheap too, honestly.
Yes.
For what he's going to bring.
Well, I mean, you got your legal troubles. You got all
that's fair. That's
all
fair.
that comes with Evander Kane. So yeah, finally, you got Jack Campbell.
Yes, they did. They got their goalie.
The sweepstakes.
Finished off in Edmonton.
Finished in Edmonton.
Yeah.
5 years, $5 million.
I cannot believe Toronto could not have matched that. He must not have wanted to play in Toronto.
I don't get it.
I don't really get that either. He must not have wanted to go back to the Leafs.
Modified no
trade.
Or
they must have undersold him like way more than that.
Yeah.
Because that's not even that bad of a contract. 5 years, $5 million. That's not that
it's
bad.
Too much for him because he didn't play that well until this past year.
Did you guys hear the thunder?
Now they did.
Some nice thunderstorm. Nice thunderstorms happening near us right now.
914 save percentage over 49 games.
It's not. Yeah,
with
that's not like
264
super good.
goals against average.
I guess I got to remind myself that the Toronto media overhypes a lot of their players. The only one they don't overhype is probably Matthews, and I guess Marner. But
he had a bad month. Remember?
Yeah, that's right. Towards the end of the year,
really bad month.
Yeah.
So
he was really good to start, and then bad for a little bit, and then he got hurt, and then he came back and he played okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think this is an overpay.
Yeah. They needed a goalie, though. That was like
did.
one of their...
Yes.
Well, defense is also a big problem in Edmonton, too, I feel like.
Well, they did sign a defenseman, Brent Kulak.
Oh, they re-signed Kulak.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, because they got him at the trade deadline.
For 4 years, $2.75 million.
That's fine. Kulak's in the same kind of defensive build as like Goodbranson and those guys that we already talked about.
And then last up, they had Mattias Janmark for 1 year, 1.75.
I think just today they signed Janmark. Yeah.
He played
that's not bad.
in Vegas.
Yeah, that's not bad.
He put up 25 points in 67 games. But that's
depth.
that's depth.
Yeah, that's depth. That's not overpayment for depth.
No, not at all. They got rid of Cassian, didn't they? No.
Yes, they did. Yeah,
Yes,
they
yes,
traded
they
him to Arizona.
So
we talked about that
they
last
already
week.
They got a cap dump right there.
Yeah. That's probably something that facilitated them bringing Kane back. Oh, and the whole Duncan Keith retiring thing opened up
a lot of money.
Pretty much all of that money that they just gave to Kane.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Edmonton will. I don't know.
Stay the same.
I think they stay the same. I think their goaltending will be at least a little bit better because it's not Mike Smith and Mikko Koskinen. Now it's Jack Campbell and Mikko Koskinen. But I think Campbell is better than Mike Smith.
Yeah.
He's at least a little less streaky than Mike Smith. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
They seem to have a much better coach than they started with last year. And
that'll help.
In what's his face? I can't remember the coach's name, but
I want to say Green, but it's Woodcroft.
Woodcroft, that's his name. Yes, it is.
So yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm finishing up with the Sharks.
Sharks.
We already talked about their trade.
Yes.
But their free agent signings are Oscar Lindholm, 2 years, 2.5. Out of Philly.
Oh yeah, he was another guy that I wanted to say good for him because Philly cut him
because he beat cancer.
They didn't cut him because he beat cancer. He did beat cancer, but unfortunately he hasn't really played that well since coming back from that.
Also,
so
Philly pro-cancer.
So Philly cut him, and he re-signed pretty quickly in San Jose. So good for him.
Nico Sturm, 3 years, $2 million. He played on Minnesota. He's a Colorado. He is a Stanley Cup champion. Yeah. Nico Sturm. Matthew Benning, 4 years, 1.25 out of Nashville. Marcus Nudvara.
Marcus. He missed a nest.
Oof. Yep, Marcus Nudvara. 1 year, 1.5. He only played one game. He was hurt.
Did he really?
All of last
season.
He was hurt all of last season. He got hurt in that first game.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
1 game, 1 point. Last year.
Hey, there you go. Is he a point-per-game player?
And today they re-signed Kaapo Kakkonen.
And they re-signed Luke Kunin, too.
I missed that one. All right.
That was also today, apparently.
But,
it's okay. We got cap friendly up. We got it. We got it.
2.75 for Luke Kunin, and
same thing for Kaapo Kakkonen. Yeah.
So that's good for them.
Luke Kunin, who they got, of course, in that trade with Nashville.
Yes.
That they just kind of swapped depth forwards.
So,
San Jose, they're still going to be bad.
They're still going to be bad, but like not as bad. It looks like.
I don't know. They did send out Brent Burns. They didn't
really get anything back for that. No, they're bad.
I mean, Oscar Lindblom's a good young player. Maybe he'll develop better, or maybe he'll get back on track of what he looked like when he started with Philly before the cancer diagnosis. I hope so. Anyway, for his sake, Luke Kunin's not a bad player, but they swapped. That was just kind of a lateral move, really.
Yep.
Nudavara, it's whatever.
Right.
Maybe he'll play well, but
we got work to do.
I'm sorry. Already. I'm sorry. I like talking, Clay. All right. Well, the next team we're going to talk about didn't really do anything because they don't have capital. Look at this. They didn't even sign anybody. They signed a bunch. It's Minnesota is who we're talking about. They re-signed a bunch of minor league guys because they do not have cap space.
They do not.
Thank you, Suter and Parise buyouts.
I don't understand
Again,
the Parise one.
You do. I don't understand the Suter one. Parise, I get. He fell off a cliff.
Okay.
Suter could still play defense.
No, you're right. You're right.
So I think, again, we mentioned this at the beginning of the year. If you bought out just Parise, I'd be like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And kept Suter, that's fine. But you bought out both of them, which counts, I believe, as $12 million against the cap this year and $14 the next two.
Oh, you're done.
So have fun with that, and maybe Kirill Kaprizov might be being detained in Russia. Who knows? Anyway, they also traded Cam Talbot, who was not happy they re-signed Marc-Andre Fleury, to Ottawa for Philip Gustafsson, who is also a goalie.
Backup.
Yeah, Gustafsson is a younger, solid backup goalie.
Yes, and they already have. They made a goalie signing, and then they have Anton Forsberg. So
yeah, that's true.
So.
Yeah. Oh, you mean Ottawa? Yeah.
Doesn't.
They got Cam Talbot. They have Anton Forsberg. Yep. They have some other younger guys.
That's all they need. They're good.
Yeah, so that's it for Minnesota. That's literally all they did.
Cool.
Nashville is up next. Nashville did at least a little bit more than Minnesota did. They signed. Who's this? No, they signed Kiefer Sherwood, who is a forward, 1 year, $750,000. Kevin Lankinen, goalie who played for Chicago last year, 1 year, $1.5 million. Mark Jankowski, 1 year, $750,000. And Zach Sanford, 1 year, $850K.
Wow.
So they didn't do a ton, but they did all of their heavy lifting by re-signing Forsberg.
Exactly.
Earlier in the week. So that's it. I'm done. Do you want me to do some more since those ones are really fast?
No, this one's gonna be real quick.
Okay.
Boston.
They
re-signed They signed AJ Greer for.
Oh wow! I didn't realize this is all they did.
2 years. .763.
Yeah.
Million. So not even $1 million? I said point.
Oh, yeah, you did.
I did say point.
$762 million.
He played 9 games for the Devils last year. That's it. The only other thing they did was they traded with the Devils. Eric Haula,
that's right, yeah.
They sent Eric Haula to the Devils for Pavel Zacha's signing rights.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll sign Zacha eventually.
So they freed up $2.375 million.
I think they'll probably use 1.5 of that for Zacha. I would think.
See what the arbitration gives them.
Zacha hasn't played very well for the Devils.
No,
he's been kind of a bust.
Lived up to it,
he's been kind of a bust of a first-round draft pick.
So that's Boston.
Yeah, I didn't realize Boston. I guess Boston's really right up to it with
right up to it.
Well, it's still unconfirmed that Bergeron and Krejci are returning. They still haven't officially signed their contracts yet, so.
They don't have cap anyway.
That's true.
Next, we're talking about Montreal.
Montreal, they did a lot of interesting things.
Michael Pezzetta, they re-signed him for $750,000 1 year. He played 51 games.
Young guy.
And scored 11 points.
Yeah, that's not bad.
They extended Rem Pitlick.
They did.
2 years, 1.1. In 66 games, he scored 37 points.
One of the many Pitlicks on
the
Montreal Canadiens.
One of the better Pitlicks for Montreal. Played better.
Oh, yeah.
And then Sam Montembeault, they did today. 2 years, $1 million. Who did not have a good stat line, but he played in front of a garbage defense.
No one else did on Montreal either, so it's fine.
The only other thing that they did was they traded Jeff Petrie to Pittsburgh for Mike Matheson.
Well, there was some other stuff in there,
too. They sent Ryan Poling as well, and then they also got a 23rd, 4th round for from Pittsburgh.
In that trade as well.
So they ended up getting
$2 million-ish, in cap space, That's and then they signed Rem Pitlick right after that.
Yes.
And Sam Montembeault the next day. I'll give my thoughts on that when we get to Pittsburgh. Because Pittsburgh did some other stuff too.
Yeah, Pittsburgh did another defenseman trade, but Petrie wanted to leave.
Yeah, Petrie did not want to be in Canada anymore. That goes back to the tax thing, and I guess his wife didn't want to be in Canada anymore.
Right.
So now he's in the United States. I know Dallas must be pissed because I know they wanted Jeff Petrie.
Yeah.
So I have heard that Dallas is kind of circling back on John Klingberg. So maybe Klingberg just returns to Dallas, but we'll see about that. That's it, yeah?
That's it, yeah.
All right, let's go to New Jersey, who swung and a miss on that Johnny Gaudreau contract. But hey, they brought in Brendan Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, from Carolina.
2 years, $1.1 million. But they also signed Andre Palat.
Yes, that's a good signing.
5 years, $6 million per. That's a lot. I think they might have done that in response to losing out on Johnny Gaudreau. Not that Palat is as dynamic as a scorer as Gaudreau is, but I guess I don't know.
Clutch.
Palat's pretty clutch. He's good defensively as well. And maybe they were trying for both. That would have
been great.
Really would have made them at least a playoff contender if they got both Palat and Gaudreau. But they didn't. However, they did get John. There it is. They got John Marino from Pittsburgh. As well as Haula from Boston. In the trade with Pittsburgh, they sent Ty Smith, who is a younger defenseman, to Pittsburgh, and a 2023 third-round pick. So Marino kind of fell off with... did you see what I just have written for the next team? Marino kind of fell off offensively. Yeah. And kind of fell out of favor with the Penguins. So the Penguins... you know what? I'll talk about the Penguins in a little bit. But John Marino is fine defensively. Yep. He's just not going to bring a lot of offense to the game, which is fine.
Yep.
You need guys to play defense, you know. But, you know, the Devils, I don't think, are a playoff team with those moves. I don't think Palat and Marino... They're better.
Their rebuild's doing well.
Their rebuild is better. We'll see.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about the Islanders. They have done literally nothing.
Good talk.
No signings, no tradings, no nothing. Do you want me to just do the Rangers while I'm here, since the Islanders have done jack and or shit?
We got 2 for 2, so
yeah, you're right.
Good
I want to see if the Islanders do something because they haven't done anything.
No.
And I've seen a lot of Islanders fans complaining at Lou Lamoriello.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I'm going to talk about Toronto.
Oh yeah, let's talk about Toronto.
We got a lot to talk about for Toronto, unfortunately.
Oh man, some of these moves.
Their free agent signings, they have signed 8 guys so far.
Have they really?
Yes.
Oh my god.
They got Nicolas Anton Kubel from Colorado.
Oh, they did. That's right.
Dennis Malgin.
Dennis Malgin
Came from Europe. Anton is one for one. These next couple guys are all for under $1 million. So Dennis Malgin, entry level. Adam Gaudette from Ottawa and Chicago.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that has the tools, but he's kind of...
He just hasn't put it together.
He's got rocks in his head.
That hockey sense.
You don't have it.
That's what you say. Yeah.
Then
when a hockey player is dumb, it's like he doesn't have the hockey sense. That means he's dumb.
They got Jordy Ben on defense.
They did.
From Minnesota.
Yeah.
Victor
Mete. Yeah.
Who
is another
involved in the scandal. From Ottawa. He's not involved because
he's not involved. He wasn't
in another
there.
country.
He wasn't there. He said that.
So those are the guys for under $1 million.
Mete is only 24. I will say
he's growing. I think he will be all right.
But it was that player that legendarily hadn't scored for like 115 games. He's a defensive defenseman. Cut him some slack. Was what my thought process was that entire time. And nobody was like, "Oh, Brooks Orpik hasn't scored in like 150 games." Like, yeah, because he doesn't do that.
He's not trying. Yesterday, they got Calle Yarnko from Calgary.
Yeah.
That's another depth defensive
forward. I didn't even hear about this.
2.1. It's
not that bad.
Confirmed.
Yeah.
It's done.
It's probably happening.
Today they got Pierre Engvall. They re-signed him. They sent him to free agency because he was an RFA. They brought him back for 1 year, $2.25 million.
That's fine.
And the bigger free agent that they got was Ilya Samsonov.
Formerly of the Capitals, yes.
Formerly of the Caps, 1 year, 1.8. So he's their backup because the trade they made.
Yeah.
Toronto gave Ottawa future considerations.
Yes, they
There's
did.
that name. For Matt Murray at 25% retained. Ottawa
only 25%.
So
retained.
They got $4.5 million on their cap. They also got a 23 third and a 24 7th.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
You couldn't give that extra $500,000 to Jack Campbell. Like, really? Jack Campbell's probably a better goalie than Matt Murray.
Matt Murray, we've talked about this.
I love Matt Murray. I do.
He has the cycle of plays great, gets hurt, plays bad, takes a long time to get back to great, then gets hurt again.
Yeah.
And it's super unfortunate. And I want him to succeed.
I want him to succeed too. I love Matt Murray. He has 2 Stanley Cups under his con. He can do it. He showed that in Pittsburgh. He can show that he can do it.
But he was technically a rookie for both those years. As soon as he's no longer been a rookie, that's when the cycle.
That's when the cycle was broken. I want him to succeed because he's had so much like pain in his life too. It's another guy that lost his dad and has just like not been the same since then. I just want him to succeed. I hope it works out. I hope he wins the Vezina with them next year. I really do. I love Matt Murray,
but that means Toronto wins.
I don't care.
All right.
I just feel bad for him. I just want him to succeed.
No, I want him to succeed. The Atlantic is like the Metro, looking like a bloodbath.
Oh God, yeah.
The
entire Eastern Conference is
East
such
is a bloodbath.
It's going to be such a war next year. Who's up next?
The Lightning's up next.
Yeah.
They have done mainly re-signings.
Yeah.
But they brought in Hayden Fleury for 2 years, under $1 million. Vladislav Nemestikov.
Yep.
1 year, 2.5. They brought Ian Cole, formerly of Carolina, 1 year, $3 million, and now the re-signings and extensions.
These extensions are nutty, buddy.
Anthony Cirelli, 8 years, $6.25. It's a great extension.
Oh yeah,
it's a great.
I mean, none of these extensions are bad. All of them are 8 years long.
Sergachev's is a lot.
8 years, 8.5.
That a lot. 8 years, $8.5 million. Yeah. That's a lot for Sergachev.
It is quite a bit for Sergachev. Yeah. But here's the thing, Sergachev only 25.
Yes.
So is Cirelli only 25.
And Cernak is 26, 8 years, $5.2 million.
I get all of these. What my thought process would probably be is that Tampa's like, okay, at most 4 years from now, 2 years, the cap is going to jump way high.
Yep.
Because then the NHL should have been recovered from COVID, as long as there's no other world-ending things that happen.
Stamkos' contract is off the books either next year or 2 years.
I'm sure they'll re-sign him.
They'll re-sign him, but it won't be for
they'll probably convince him to take a discount. But so honestly, by that time, players like Sergachev are probably going to be commanding $8.5 million at least.
So
he's not a bad defenseman.
Toronto stays good.
Yeah.
Tampa stays good.
About the same, yeah. Tampa loses Palat, but they can make up for that.
Boston doesn't change. They're probably going to drop a little bit.
They're going to drop a little bit because of injuries mostly.
And then I'll get to some other teams in the Atlantic who improved.
God damn it! I hate the Eastern Conference so much. Let's go to the Rangers, who re-signed Libor Hayek for 1 year, $800K.
Mm-hmm.
But they then signed Louis Domingue, 2 years, $775K.
Good for Louis.
They were impressed by him almost beating them in the playoffs, so they signed Louis Domingue too.
Mm-hmm.
Be their third string. Because they also signed Yaroslav Halak for 1 year, $1.5 million, and they were like, we can't get Halak if Halak is on our team.
Nope.
Then they went out and signed Vinny Trocheck for 7 years, $5.625 million.
Good for Trocheck.
Yeah, that's a pretty good contract. That's not too bad. The term is maybe a little long, but the money-wise, not bad.
Yeah.
And they also signed Ryan Carpenter for 1 year, $750K. And I mentioned already that they traded Patrick Nemeth.
Yes.
So that's it for the Rangers. I think the Rangers are going to be about as good as they were after the trade deadline last year. Because, they lost Andrew Kopp, but they got Vinny Trocheck, and I think that's essentially the same player.
Yeah.
So, weirdly enough, signed for the exact same cap hit.
Right?
Yeah, very strange. Because it's a really specific cap hit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you want to talk about Philly?
I mean, we kind of talked about Philly.
We have to talk about Philly. Philly signed...
Oh my God.
Oh boy,
oh my God, I forgot. We really haven't talked about Philly that much.
So, just to remind you guys, Philadelphia made a very odd trade for D'Angelo last week. And then re-signed him for 2 years, $5 million. Now, in a vacuum, on any other team, that's not that bad. But when you're like, oh, Philly is really bad, and they signed him for that contract, and then you think, oh, D'Angelo is a really bad human being, it seems like.
I disagree with in a vacuum. The trade seems normal.
Really?
I really do.
So you don't think if Tampa Bay did it D'Angelo?
What they gave up for D'Angelo,
they did give up quite a bit. Several draft picks.
Was a massive overpay.
What was it? Let me look back here for a second. Keep going.
Was a massive overpay. I'm not even talking about personality-wise. What he put up on the ice was a massive overpay, and to pay that much and to only sign him for 2 years is outrageous.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Only signing him for 2 years is pretty suspect. Where is that trade? There it is. Oh, maybe. Sorry, everybody. Just going through my notes. There it is. For 4th, 3rd, and 2nd in several different years, but that's a lot.
Yeah.
for a guy. For D'Angelo, who's not a bad player, and then only signing him for 2 years. No, you're right. Yeah, that's a good point. So, hey, they have him.
I will. That's a hill I'll die
on. They also signed Troy Grosenick, who's a goalie, 1 year, $750K. I have to imagine he might be their backup since Fedotov is somewhere in Russia.
In the Arctic Circle.
In the Arctic Circle.
You know, it's pretty small.
They signed Nick Delorier.
Yeah, they did.
4 years, $1.75 million.
Oh my God.
Yeah, man.
Philadelphia's going to be very punchy this year.
They also signed Justin Braun, who was on their team last year until he got traded to the Rangers, I believe, and played pretty bad for the Rangers.
Yep.
1 year, $1 million, so they bring him back after the trade deadline. That's great, right? Yeah, he's super good. And then they re-signed Morgan Frost for 1 year, $800K. I don't have anything bad to say about Morgan Frost, but
Philly's going to be very punchy next year,
which is what they wanted, I guess. So
they're going to be at the bottom of the division, but physical.
Oh yes, they're going to be at the bottom of the division because I think everyone else in the division at least stayed the same, if not got better.
Right.
Literally everyone, including New Jersey and Columbus.
The Islanders stayed the same.
If the Islanders stay healthy, they'll still be better than Philly.
Agreed, because they were better than Philly.
Yes, they were. They were 5th in the division.
Yes.
They had a much better second half of the season than the Islanders. Philly's going to be really bad next year.
It's going to be beautiful because it's what they want.
Yeah. I saw somebody on the hockey Reddit be like, yeah, we're going to be super bad, and then for some reason we're going to trade our first-round draft pick. That's going to be a top 3 pick for, like, some random dude.
From some AHL
some crappy third or fourth line guy. Yeah. So, like, that's where we're at with Philly right now. I'm not really sure why they're allowing Chuck Fletcher to be their general manager. He's making really questionable decisions. They did not get enough in the trade for Giroux.
They've been overpaying.
They're overpaying guys. They re-signed Ristolainen for some reason. They're not going to play defense next year. And apparently they're still trying to trade Provorov and or Van Riemsdyk and
look, Tortorella is a defense-first coach, so
they might be slightly better under Tortorella. Maybe slightly better.
He might make Connor Hart back to being a good goalie.
Yeah, certainly. He helped Bobrovsky win those Vezinas.
You're right.
Yeah.
Like, if you're there last in the division and Connor Hart wins the Vezina, it'd be amazing.
Be hilarious.
I want it.
Yeah,
I want that.
Hilarious. Who you got going up next?
Florida. Florida's only signed 4 guys so far. They got Mark Stahl, Colin White, Nick Cousins, and Rudolph Balcers. Only one of those guys, only Cousins is for over a year, and Cousins and White are over $1 million at 1.1 and 1.2 respectively.
Yeah.
So depth.
Is Eric Stahl also on Florida? I saw something about the Stahl brothers rejoining.
It was a pay trial.
Oh, it was a PTO.
Yes.
Because I could have sworn Eric Stahl retired. But I guess maybe not.
It's a pay tryout.
Yeah.
So.
That's funny that they're giving him a PTO before we're anywhere close to the beginning of the season. That's really funny.
So that's where we are.
Yeah, some teams just don't have the cap space to do anything.
No.
So
there's a lot of guys still out there, so they're just waiting. Everyone's waiting for this dust to settle.
That's true. Kadri's still out there. Klingberg's still out there. Niederreiter is still out there. So there's still some big names to be signed, but not quite yet.
But next up, we're going to talk about a team who very much improved.
The Red Wings?
The Red Wings.
How did I know?
Because it's only one of 2 teams.
Oh my god, dude! They signed every mid-level free agent. It felt like,
All right,
They did get better, I think. Yeah.
They got a lot better. They're in the mix in the Atlantic now.
Yeah, with Boston taking a big step back. Yeah.
And
they started in the mix last year too.
They started in the mix. They fell back. They ended. Buffalo was first in the.
In the who fell first. Buffalo was the first one to fall off a cliff, but then Detroit.
No, Buffalo was 75. Yes, Buffalo was 75 points. Detroit 74 points.
Ottawa
73 points. That's
I
how the
forgot
season
Buffalo
ended.
had a really good second half of the season. I forgot about that.
So,
You're fine. Sorry, my dog's like panting and staring at us like she's dying.
Oli Mata, first guy out.
Yeah.
Defenseman from the Kings.
He's okay.
1 year,
Yeah.
2.25.
Yeah, that's fine for
Ben
Oli
Sherratt.
Mata. Yeah. Yep.
4 years, 4.75.
Seems like too much for Ben
A
Sherratt.
little bit of an overpay.
Again, there's like a bunch of these guys that signed Ben Sherratt, Eric Branson, Nikita Zadorov, that signed for maybe Josh Manson, that signed for maybe a little too much. Yeah.
And Zadorov is the only one of that list who was under 4.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
David Perron.
Yeah, David Perron ended up going to Detroit.
2 years, 4.75.
He'll be back on St. Louis in like after this contract's over.
He's not a fan that they didn't offer him enough, quote unquote.
I mean, he did have a really good season for St. Louis, and he had a pretty good playoff too. He tried to kill Nazem Kadri.
Yeah.
That was the one blemish to that, but yeah,
He was only traded away once.
Was he?
Yeah, he was traded away once, and then it was
From St. Louis.
Yes, from St. Louis.
Yeah.
And then he was in the expansion draft to Vegas.
Oh, that's
That's what
right.
that was.
Well, he started with St. Louis. I believe he then went to Edmonton.
Yep.
And then Edmonton to Pittsburgh for a hot minute.
Pittsburgh.
And then he, I think, went back to St. Louis, then to Vegas, then back to St. Louis again, and then now to Detroit.
He was traded from St. Louis to Edmonton.
Yeah, and then
signed
Edmonton to Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Then they got Dominic Kubalik.
They did, yes.
Yes, he played for Chicago before.
Mhm.
2 years, 2.5.
Former, I believe, 25 or 30 goal scorer, but like has really not done great since then.
No.
Who knows? He's on a better team, certainly.
Andrew Kopp ended up here. 5 years, 5.625.
Yeah, exact same cap hit as Vinny Trocheck.
Exact
So,
same.
which makes you think like he played so well for the Rangers. I don't know why the Rangers didn't just
I
re-sign
don't
him.
understand. And Mark Bissick.
Yep.
1 year, 850K.
Yeah,
So
that's fine. That's fine.
Detroit
Just
made
saying.
a big step up.
I think Detroit's going to be a real player at least for maybe a wild card spot, maybe third in the division if things fall correctly for them.
Did Florida really takes a step back?
Yeah, that's true.
Florida's going to be the one who takes a step back out of those top 3.
Yeah. I don't know. Florida has most of their pieces that set them up for that playoff spot last year. I mean, they lost Giroux and Sherratt, but like those were both trade deadline acquisitions.
Well, they
but
now
they also don't have any draft picks.
Well, they now have a good coach or a better coach in Maurice instead of
That's true. That's
who
true.
ended
Yeah.
up in Red Wings?
No, he signed with. He's an assistant coach, I believe, with the Devils.
Okay,
I
it
think
was
he went to
somewhere
the
red.
Devils. Yeah, he went to. He's not a head coach.
No,
he's
he's
an
an
assistant
assistant
coach. Yeah. So, all right. Well, that's the Red Wings. They should be better. They should be in the mix for a playoff spot.
I totally see them making. The longest. Give me 1 second. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, scroll back. Andrew Copp's contract is the longest contract that Steve Yzerman's given on the Red Wings.
I have heard rumors that they're working on an extension with Larkin. So, I imagine that gets done. I mean, Larkin's their captain. He's certainly their best player. Offensive player, yeah. Sorry. My phone alarm was going off. Yeah. Let's talk about Pittsburgh. Now, Pittsburgh did more re-signing than signing.
Yeah.
So, they started off by re-signing Rickard Rakell, 6 years, $5 million per.
I think that's all right. Maybe
that's
a little
not too
bit
bad.
of overpay, but not much.
Maybe a little too long, because Rakell's like, is he 30? He's 29.
Yeah.
But $5 million, I think he could have gotten more on the market.
Yes.
But he apparently really likes playing in Pittsburgh. He was apparently blown away when he was traded to Pittsburgh.
Awesome.
So he liked it. So he re-signed 6 years, $5 million. I think that's pretty fair. Maybe slightly overpay, but not too bad for a top 6 winner. They also re-signed young defenseman P.O. Joseph for 2 years, $825K. That is remarkable because that is a one-way contract, which suggests to me that P.O. Joseph will be on the big roster next year. And then, the biggest one of them all, they re-signed Evgeny Malkin after all of the fluff and bother from everybody the last few weeks. Malkin re-signed for 4 years, $6.1 million, the same cap hit as Letang, just 2 years shorter.
All it took was Crosby to go down.
Who knows what it took? Ron Hextall himself, who was the general manager of Pittsburgh, they were like, media asked him, what changed with Malkin signing the contract? He was like, I don't know. And so the rumor mill is that Crosby called up both sides and was like, let's get this done. And Malkin was like, whatever. And then he signed the contract. So all of the fluff and bother of, Malkin's leaving, and all of the Penguins fans jumping off of bridges like it was actually...
They have so many bridges to jump off of.
They do, 400 plus.
Pick and choose. And
he resigned for what everybody was reporting the Penguins offered.
Yeah.
So
there it is.
There you go. They also signed Dustin Tokarski, 1 year, $775K.
There's your backup.
Third. They re-signed DeSmith too.
Oh, yeah.
They signed Jan Ruda from Tampa Bay. 3 years, $2.75 million. He's going to be a third pairing defenseman.
Yep.
And they re-signed Josh Archibald for 1 year. Well, Archibald was on the Penguins years ago, and now they signed him again for 1 year, $900K. He is maybe going to play.
Maybe.
They also, it's a two-way contract, but they signed Caligula, Drake Caggiula to a two-way contract.
I mean, he was hurt all of last year, so
he has played okay in the teams that he's played for. He's fine. And of course, we mentioned they traded John Marino, and they acquired Jeff Petrie while also trading off. So in the trades in general, they traded Marino, Mike Matheson, and a 2023 fourth for Ty Smith, and a 2023 third. Jeff Petrie and Ryan Poehling or Paling, I don't know how to pronounce his name. So they got bigger on defense. Paling is also a bigger forward too, which is something that Hextall and Brian Burke, who are in charge of the Penguins, wanted to do. So they did it. Petrie is certainly better than John Marino.
Yep.
So they reworked their defense, and I still have a gut feeling that there's a little more to come for Pittsburgh, but we won't talk about that until our season previews later this year.
Right.
So. St. Louis is next. I was like, I have to do a second team. St. Louis did quite a bit re-signing. Actually, St. Louis made a lot of moves.
Yes, they did.
They extended Robert Thomas of Matchbox 20 for 8 years, $8.125 million. I think it's worth it. Yeah, I think that is totally worth it. He had a very, very good season for St. Louis. He's still pretty young. So again, same thing with maybe Tampa Bay is what St. Louis is thinking. In a few years, the cap is going to jump, maybe something like $10 million, and then this contract is going to look like a steal. In that time. So that I think that's fine.
Yeah.
They re-signed Nathan Walker for 1 year, $775K.
Aussie.
Oi, oi, oi. And they re-signed Nick Leddy for 4 years, $4 million. That's definitely an overpay.
Yes.
I feel like Leddy is not as good as he used to be. Clearly, he's still a fine defenseman. He's a fine, but if they signed him for like 2.5, that I would think that was much better. Yep. But you take what you can get. And today they re-signed Nico Mikkola for 1 year, $1.9 million. That's another defenseman. They also signed Nola Chari for 1 year, $1.25 million.
Gotcha.
Signed Tomas Greiss for 1 year, $1.5. So he's going to be the backup to Jordan Binnington.
Yes.
Because if you guys remember, they traded Husso to Detroit. And then he signed with Detroit. Josh Levo signed in St. Louis as well, 1 year, $750K, and they brought back Scott Perunovich as well for 1 year, $750K as well.
Gotcha.
So St. Louis brought back a lot of their guys, extended a bunch of guys, added Achari, Greiss, and Levo. So there you go. But there's still question of what's going on with Tarasenko. They haven't extended him. He's still there. He's under contract, but who knows?
All right. So my last two teams of the Atlantic both kind of made some moves. We're going to talk about Buffalo first.
Let's talk about that Buffalo Sabres team.
Like I mentioned before, they were last season. They ended the best of Detroit, Buffalo, and Ottawa.
They did, yeah.
As of right now, doesn't look like that's going to be the case.
No.
But
who knows?
Before free agency started, they re-signed Vinny Hinostroza. 1 year, 1.7.
That's fine for Hinostroza.
Very good.
Yeah.
They got Eric Comrie as a goalie.
Yeah.
As a backup, I would say.
Backup, I guess.
Craig Anderson.
I guess. That goalie situation is real questionable in Buffalo right now.
Yeah, but Anderson didn't play that bad.
That's true. But Anderson's also 40, so
42.
Yeah, so everybody has an expiration date.
So he had a 9.92 save percentage.
Did he really?
On Winnipeg, but it's a very small sample size of only 19. So we'll see what that.
Only 19, but still 9.2 in 19 games.
9.2, 2.58 goals against average. 19 games.
That's not bad. I wouldn't call that a small sample size. I think that's solid backup numbers right there. That's real good backup numbers actually.
They brought back Victor Olofsson.
They did.
2 years, 4.75, which is he put up 49 points.
That seems pretty solid.
Last year.
Yeah.
So 20 goals, 29 assists.
Yeah, that's solid.
72 games.
Shade under $5 million a year for Olofsson. That's not bad.
And they got Lyubushkin.
Ilya Lyubushkin
From Toronto and Arizona last year. 2 years, 2.75. So that's a good defensive defenseman for them.
Good stuff. A lot of defensive defensemen signing. Yeah. Dahlin or Owen Power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Owen Power's going to be better,
should be
coming up, and
Dahlin should be too.
Yeah,
they still have Tage Thompson, Alex Tuch.
Getting better this entire time.
They re-signed Jake Brisson too.
Yeah.
2 years, 1.85
I stopped
million.
at the 11. That's my bad.
That's fine. Re-signed Jake Brisson as well.
Re-signed Jake Brisson. Yeah, as Bert said. So, making good moves so far.
Yeah.
Last up is the Senators.
Another team making good moves.
Made some very good moves. Like we talked about, they got rid of Matt Murray.
They did, yeah.
Improved with Cam Talbot.
Yeah.
Lateral.
I would say probably Cam Talbot is better than Matt Murray.
By the end of
Money-wise,
the season,
they improved, definitely.
Yes. Because Cam Talbot's only 1 year, 3.6.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. So if it doesn't work, he's gone.
2 more years of whatever they retained from
Murray.
$1.5 million
Yeah,
from Murray.
that's not that bad.
They sent out Connor Brown for a second to Washington.
Yes,
a second 2 years from now.
Yeah. So
The reason they sent out Connor Brown because Connor Brown was their second line center.
Mm-hmm.
But they made some moves and improved.
They did indeed.
They got Claude Giroux.
They did.
3 years, $6.5 million.
Yeah.
Who put up 68 points.
Nick Delorier and Anthony DeAngelo are making more than Claude Giroux.
Yes.
This season.
And what they also did, starting next year, Josh Norris.
Yeah.
Signed for an 8-year, $7.95 million contract. It's there. He's going to be their
top center. Yeah, top center. And then Giroux, I would assume, is going to be their second line center.
They might put him on the wing because they got Stützle.
I thought Stützle was a winger. Is he a center? I think he might be able to play both. Either way.
Giroux can play multiple.
That's true. Either way, they have a lot of options at center. If it's Stützle on the second line, if it's Giroux on the second line, doesn't matter. Both of those guys are great.
Because Brown's too good to be a fourth line center.
Yeah, think about this. This top six is going to be some combination of Drake Batherson, Brady Tkachuk, Alex DeBrincat, Tim Stützle, Claude Giroux, and Josh Norris.
Disgusting.
That's
disgusting.
Ottawa might challenge for a playoff spot too. Now, I do have some questions on their defense. Shabbat is very good, but I couldn't name another defenseman on Ottawa currently. I think they got better in goal with Talbot. Could challenge for a playoff spot. Could challenge for a playoff spot. They're outside of maybe 3 teams in the East. All of the rest of the teams might challenge for a playoff spot. And the only 3 teams that I can think off the top of my head, and I could be wrong, are definitely Philly is going to be bad.
Philly we're not wrong about.
No, Philly I would assume is going to be pretty bad. Buffalo probably not.
I don't think they challenge.
Not this year.
I think they're good enough to be annoying to every other team.
Probably.
I think they're
better than Philly. Better than Philly, certainly. I think they'll be annoying. I think they'll probably take some points from teams that will make the playoffs, like Boston or Pittsburgh or Toronto or somebody like that.
I don't know if we have like 200 or 300 point teams in the division.
I don't think so. I think the East is gonna be a mess.
Montreal's gonna suck.
Oh, that was the third. That was the third one. Yeah, Montreal, Philly, and probably Buffalo. Maybe New Jersey are not going to be playoff teams. Now, if New Jersey had added Gaudreau, like I thought they were going to, then certainly. Yeah. They haven't re-signed Jesper Bratt yet either. I think they will. Mm-hmm. They have plenty of cap space to do it. But then they're just kind of bringing back the same team as last year, which was good for stretches and then bad for stretches. Right. So,
but a lot of those young guys get another year.
So that's 4 of 16 teams. Mm-hmm. There's only 8 playoff spots. So Bloodbath Central is the East Coast is going to be the Blood Coast next year. West Coast, I mean, there's plenty of good teams in the Western Conference as well, but man, not 12.
I think there might be that cliff in the Western Conference.
I think so. Like there was in the Eastern Conference this past year, where the 8 teams that made the playoffs were clear from like Thanksgiving on.
Right. Well, this will be a lot more fun in the East because who's going to make the playoffs?
The East should be more interesting because Ottawa, I think, should be significantly better. Mm-hmm. That's it. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. The Islanders, I would assume, are going to bounce back. Obviously, Columbus got Gaudreau. I don't know that they're actually going to make a playoff spot, but they're going to be super annoying to play against. Mm-hmm. You have the old stalwarts like Boston, Pittsburgh, and Washington, and Tampa Bay at this point. Florida should still be in the mix for a playoff spot. Toronto is still very good.
Who knows what happens with Boston because Boston is Boston.
Carolina got significantly better. The Rangers should be just as good.
Yeah.
I hate the Eastern Conference. Anyway, let's talk about the last 2 teams one in the East, one in the West. Let's talk about Washington. So Washington signed Eric Gustafsson, 1 year, $800K.
Washington made some good moves.
They didn't make bad moves. They brought in Charlie Lindgren, Marcus Johansson. Charlie Lindgren, 3 years, $1.1 million. They brought back Marcus Johansson for 1 year, $1.1 million. So matching cap hits for Lindgren and Johansson. It depends on what year he says. They did bring in Darcy Kemper.
Yes, they did.
The Stanley Cup champion goalie, 5 years, $5.25 million. That's not bad.
I would say that's good.
That's pretty good. I would say upgrade. Well, so your starting goalies for Washington now next year, I assume, will be Darcy Kemper and Charlie Lindgren.
Yeah.
Because both Vanacek and Samsonov are gone.
Yep.
So that'll be your tandem. That's not bad. I would say that's probably better.
Well, Kemper put up very good goalie numbers on a really bad Arizona team.
Yeah, and then kind of middling numbers on a Colorado team, but he didn't really have to be that good.
He didn't have to be that good, and then in the playoffs he didn't have good numbers, but he also was playing with one eye. So
true. Yeah, true. So he's on Washington. I think that is a big upgrade in goalie. Yeah. They also signed Dylan Strome. Mm-hmm. I guess to fill the void a little bit for Backstrom, who may or may not play.
They're expecting him to come back
mid-season-ish.
Yeah, so they're not trying to use all of his cap hit.
So that Dylan Strome signing was 1 year, $3.5 million.
There's a chance Lars Eller gets moved at the trade deadline.
Yeah, we'll have to see where Washington's at.
Yeah.
And of course, Clay mentioned that Connor Brown was sent to Washington for a 2024 second round pick.
So that's another center.
So another center. So they're beefing up on center depth. I think Washington is just as good, if not better, than they're, at least on paper, as they were.
On paper, they actually seem to improve.
Goalie definitely better. Defense, their defense was fine last year. And then forwards, you reshuffle the deck a little bit, especially with Backstrom being out. But
Tom Wilson being out for a long time.
Oh, that too, yeah. But he'll definitely be back next year. Tom Wilson will be. But yeah, let's finish things off with a team that barely did anything in the Winnipeg Jets. They signed David Riddick, who's a goalie, if you don't know, for 1 year, $900K. He's going to, I'm certain, be backing up Connor Hellebuck, filling in that Eric Comrie, who just signed with whoever you just said.
Right?
No.
It's Buffalo.
Buffalo, there it is. And they signed Jansen Harkins for 2 years, $850K. I don't know what Winnipeg's doing.
Not their best.
They're still, I guess, trying to trade Blake Wheeler, maybe Mark Scheifele. Winnipeg's going to go into a rebuild kind of soon.
Yeah, they're going to have
because Wheeler and Scheifele don't seem to be the greatest leaders in the world. We mentioned before.
Some toxic stuff coming.
Blake Wheeler apparently is extremely toxic. Scheifele is just generally not a good leader. Pierre-Luc Dubois who wants to go play in Montreal. So if they even wanted to trade him, that kind of hampers him because
he only wants to
go to Montreal. So that
he apparently went to the draft because he was expecting to get traded.
I saw that. Yeah, that's crazy.
It's just a punk ass move.
Yep, it is on his part. Yeah. Hey, they still have Kyle Connor, who's a super good player.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys see, you got that going for you, Winnipeg fans.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I think Winnipeg might be pretty bad next year, especially. I would assume there's some sort of trades coming up involving Scheifele or maybe Blake Wheeler.
Like, you can get some.
Oh, you can get stuff for those guys, but it's not going to be stuff that makes you better.
No.
It's going to be like futures at best for those guys. So, I don't know.
But that's our season.
See. That's the season. So, we'll probably do what we did last year. Come back a few weeks before the season begins. Do our previews. I'm thinking maybe this year we split it up a little bit better and not have 2.5-hour episodes to begin the season.
Yeah, it'll be nicer for y'all.
Yeah, we'll figure that out down the line. But
we're more polished.
Yeah, I feel like we have gotten more polished as we went through the season. But you know what? I just wanted to say, anybody that has been listening for any portion of the season, whether you've been here since the beginning, you've been here since the playoffs, you're just listening to this episode, it doesn't matter to me. Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. Because when we started, I just assumed nobody would listen to us. And it would just be me and Clay talking to each other. Which, I mean, it still is, basically. But
I'm fine with that.
But for those people that are listening, thank you so much for listening.
And
we really appreciate it. We love you.
And we'll see you next season.
And we will see you probably September-ish. Because I think the season starts in October, so the first episodes will probably be September, mid-September-ish. We'll see. But thank you guys for listening. As always, thank you for being here for the season, if you were here the entire time. And we'll catch you in September or October-ish.
At the same puck time.
And the same puck channel.
Bye.
Bye. Love you.